One of the great football coaches of my life. Every week you see him on Fox NFL Sunday at noon. He just had a huge walk this morning, going fishing tomorrow, my kind of life. Jimmy Johnson, 2 Super Bowl rings, Fox Sports College National Championship. He's in better shape than me, and that's discouraging for me, to be honest with you. Let's, it's easy to blame the Cowboys. Or we could look at the Saints and say, new coordinator, Kubiak's kid out of the San Francisco system. They had a speed receiver. We can just beat on the Cowboys. Is it possible? Every year this league, Jimmy, gives us a team. Last year it was Houston, and they catch everybody off guard. Is New Orleans maybe just that team?
Well, I think New Orleans is very good. But, Colin, I think early in the season, the first 2 or 3 weeks, it's hard to get a read on some of these teams because they don't play. Nobody plays in the preseason. The only teams that you can really count on are the veteran teams that hadn't had any changes. Well, New Orleans is one of those teams. They're a veteran team, and they didn't have a whole lot of changes this offseason. You look at the Cowboys, they completely changed their defensive scheme. Plus, they lost some good players. And so I think, let's give everybody 2 or 3 weeks before we really say, hey, they're good or they're bad. Now, there's a couple of them that are bad and they're going to stay bad. And there's a couple of them that are pretty good and they're going to stay good. But mainly the veteran teams is the one you can count on.
I brought Matt Hasselbeck on earlier, and he said, we can blame the Bears' O-line, but you can audible your way out of trouble. Caleb's late on routes. I mean, Bill Belichick, your friend, said, I'm not impressed. He's 50% in preseason against vanilla stuff. Are you a little concerned about the accuracy and the kind of the managing of the game you see from Caleb Williams?
Well, I'm concerned here early because you don't want to get him beat up. But I think he took about the same number of sacks as what Troy Aikman did against Philadelphia his first year.
Yeah.
I think Caleb's got to understand that he's not going to be able to make a great play, every time. Sometimes he's going to have to throw it away. But they can, and once they get the receivers healthy, once the offensive line improves, Caleb, he'll understand to throw the ball away occasionally.
Yeah. Jimmy, either it's your Cowboys, Belichick's Patriots, or Andy Reid's Chiefs. There are teams that don't necessarily play great for 3.5 hours, but damn, they're good late with 2 minutes left. They're really good situationally. Do I credit Andy Reid, Belichick, you, Aikman, Brady? I watch Kansas City. They throw bad picks. They make mistakes. But in these high leverage moments, I'm watching Cincinnati, Buffalo, all these good teams beat themselves. Who do I give that credit to in Kansas City?
Well, I think the number one coaching aspect in professional football, I say it time and time again, and Howie and Michael Strahan get on my case that they've heard it before. Success in the NFL is not who makes the most great plays. It's who makes the fewest bad plays. And you look at a team that turns the ball over a bunch. Hey, Kansas City nearly got beat because they turned it over. But on the other side, you look at Cincinnati, they had the stupid penalties that cost them the game.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if you have a relationship with Jim Harbaugh, but you are one of the few coaches ever that could do it in college and pro. And they're totally different sensibilities. Even great coaches like a Bill Parcells, I don't think he would have worked in college. He wouldn't have dealt with the boosters and the recruiting and the nonsense. I just don't think Bill would have done that stuff. But so it's a very unique guy. Pete did it. You did it. Harbaugh's done it. He's taken the same defense that was the worst in the league last year. They've added almost nobody, and they're the number one scoring defense. Is it scheme? Is it culture? What is it?
Well, you can play pretty good defense when you rush for over 200 yards. Running the football and keeping the football away from the opponent and eating that clock up is going to help your defense. when you're throwing it every down, that defense is going to have some struggles because they're going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be complementary football as far as your defense and your offense, what you're doing scheme wise.
Yeah. I got to ask you about Tua. I said if it was my son, I'd tell him to pack it in. But then I think to myself, boy, I wouldn't want, if I was a quarterback, I wouldn't want probably that to be my last play in the NFL. What do you do? I mean, give me a big picture view on, you're down there in the Keys, you're close to it. What do you do with the Tua situation?
As far as my stance, if I was his coach, I wouldn't say a word. I wouldn't want to influence him. I wouldn't want to influence him to continue to play. I wouldn't want to influence him to retire. This has got to be Tua's decision, his family's decision, the neurologist, their decision. They've got to make that call because anything that you might do to influence him, you might regret later on. So again, that's got to be his call, and I wouldn't want to advise him either way.
Yeah, it is. This league is funny, Jimmy. If you voted for MVP today, you'd give it to Derek Carr or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. The league, Geno Smith may get a vote. What do you make of all these middling guys on their third and fourth team crushing it? What do you make of it?
Well, I think especially with quarterbacks, you've got to have the right coach. You've got to have the right supporting cast. And they've got to have some experience. You can't give up on some of these talented quarterbacks that's this first year or two, or even for some of them, 3 or 4 years. Everybody knew Sam Darnold, he had talent coming out of college. He turned the ball over a bunch in college, but he's got talent. Baker Mayfield, he was the number one pick for a reason. Again, they've got to get put in the right situation with the right coach, with the right supporting cast. If they don't have a supporting cast, they're not going to be able to show their talent.
Yeah.
If they don't have the right coach, they're not going to be able to show their talent. So it's got to be the combination of the thing. And I think, I'm happy to see the success of Baker Mayfield because he's gone through some struggles. I'm happy to see Darnold, have success. They're showing right now the talent that they had when they were drafted high.
Jimmy, you were able to in Dallas. I want to circle back to them. Your Miami teams were glamorous and flashy, but they were tough. You took a lot of two-star recruits, built running games. You didn't have great offensive lines. They were always harder to get. Your teams, there was a glamour to them, but they didn't let it go to their head. Your Cowboy teams had glamour, but they were tough and physical. I'm a little worried about Dallas. Last year, week 15, they trailed Buffalo 31-3. They get crushed by Green Bay. They get run off the field yesterday. I'm okay with glamour. But you got to be able to take a punch. You got to be able to have a chin. Right. Jimmy, aren't you? I'm a little concerned how often this team is just middle of the first quarter. They're not ready to compete. Isn't that a little worrisome?
I think, Dallas is a unique situation because they are so visible. They've got so many fans. They've got so many people telling them how great they are.
Yeah.
That they don't develop that toughness and that, being able to overcome adversity type of thing. Because, it's almost, they've got the country club type life. And so that's why you've got to have the type of coaches that are going to drill it in them.
Yeah.
The one thing, that people don't realize, all the glamour, you talk about the glamour of the Cowboys when I was there, we had the triplets. When anybody talks about those teams, they say, hey, you had Michael and Emmett and Troy. Well, they don't even mention that we led the NFL in total defense. We were number one in defense one year. We were number two in defense another year. And so, they didn't. In fact, one year we led the league in defense and didn't have a single Pro Bowler. So you look at New Orleans. Look how they play defense. They are a physical football team, and they didn't even have one of their best corners out there yesterday. So that allowed their offense to do some things. And that's one reason why they're going to be a dangerous team. They're a veteran group. And when you got Kamara, they're at running back that can make the big plays. Derek Carr is an excellent deep thrower. They had an excellent game plan. You notice they didn't have a whole lot of just pure dropbacks.
Yeah.
That's what Dallas is strong at, rushing the passer on the dropback passing game. All of it was play action. Dallas didn't protect the perimeter. They've got to do some things to correct that defense, and they'll do that. Zimmer's a good football coach. He'll correct a lot of those things.
Jimmy, as always, what a pleasure. That's number one defense with no Pro Bowlers. That's something. That's pretty good coaching. You pat yourself in the back. That's pretty good coaching, Jimmy. Right?
Yeah, and now the next year, Charles Haley and a few of them went to the Pro Bowl, but that first year, none of them went to the Pro Bowl. We led the league.
Good for you. Good.
Crazy. Everybody likes scoring, Colin. They like those touchdowns.
Jimmy, as always, it's great seeing you.
Okay, I'll go fishing. I'll catch one for you.
All right, please do that. Please do it.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.